Well, I'm excited today. Everyone, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Susan Phillips, the president of the Asian Chamber of Texas, and welcome to our Doing Business With seminar. And I am so delighted to introduce our panelist. And before I introduce our panelists, I just want to say a brief comment regarding the current climate of the nation and everything that's happening. We are in sad times, to say the least, but you know, with everything that's going on, sometimes I think we lose sight of the good things that are happening here and the good work that is being done on a daily basis. And these three partners of ours are so strong in this area, and I want to make sure and commend them and tell them we appreciate you and your work, because what you do every day, and you're fighting for minority businesses to strive and thrive. Here in North Texas, it is, we don't always tell you how important it is, but you know how important it is, and you don't always get the recognition. And sometimes in lieu of everything that's happening, we lose sight of the good work that you do. So I want to say a big thank you to Carmen, Ron, and Guy for showing up today and being a part of this. Thank you, guys. But I also want to introduce everybody. So, you know, without further ado, let's start with Ron. Ron is the Assistant Vice President of Contract Administration at Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. Ron is responsible for the planning, organization, supervision, and administration of programs for centralized contracting functions for all DFW airport departments. This includes contract solicitation, administration, and contract execution. Ron also reviews and approves contracting activities for compliance with board policy and other requirements, in addition to managing the development of official board actions. Now, Ron is, there's so much more and we have so little time, so I'm just going to go deep into it real quick. And Ron is also very active in nonprofit and professional organizations in the community, including the DFW Metroplex chapter of the National Institute of Governmental Purchasing, where he served as chapter president. And, you know, he's won, as well as receiving the Chamber Member of the Year award 3 times in 2016, Ron was awarded the Airport's Leadership and Diversity and Inclusion Award. Ron, thank you so much for coming and being part of this. Now, Guy, he's representing the Parkland Health and Hospital, and he is the Director of Inclusion in Supplier Diversity. He oversees programs and services and initiatives designed to enhance the diversity of Parkland's workforce, vendor community, and participation in civic and community organizations. He also serves as a liaison and develop partnerships within the community to promote diversity and inclusion within the health system. Now, prior to Parkland, he was with DFW Airport, where he served as the business development manager. So Ron, we just had this conversation earlier. Ron and Guy know each other quite well, but I was going to have Ron introduce him, but we'll just leave that to me. The airport, so he also was in charge of reviewing the joint venture agreement contracts for federal regulatory compliance, set airport concessions, disadvantaged business enterprise, so the ACDBE goals for airport retail, food and beverage, and passenger services. From 2009 to 2013, he served as a business specialist at the airport and was responsible for some DSM WBE goals for various solicitations in numerous departments for the 241 million professional services, non-professional services, and goods and services program. Guy holds a Juris Doctorate of Law from the University of Oklahoma, and he earned his Bachelor of Science Accounting Control Systems from the University of North Texas. Additionally, he is the chair of Dallas-Fort Worth Minority Supplier Development Council, Council Professional Working Group, and previously was a board member of the Dallas Black Contractors Association and the Greater Southwest Black Chamber of Commerce. Welcome, Guy. And last but not least, we have Carmen Garcia. Carmen currently serves as the Assistant Vice President for Outreach in the Diversity and Inclusion Department at DART. In her role, Garcia sees, why do I say Garcia? Carmen oversees DART's outreach program by directing, coordinating, and administering agencies' outreach program as it relates to minority contracts and the DMWBE vendors. She maintains programs relative to the needs of the community. She develops and maintains external strategic partnerships and serves as a liaison to major chambers like ours, representing minorities, women, and other groups whose goals include the development of economic opportunities for minorities and women. Carmen sits on many different boards here in North Texas, and she remains actively involved in numerous community organizations locally and throughout the state. Recently, she was presented with the Regional Hispanic Contractors President's Award. Congratulations, Carmen, and welcome. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and open the conversation to begin. So who shall we start? Who's going to start the conversation here?
I think I am.
Go for it, Carmen.
Thank you for inviting me to present to you today. Our programs, all three of us have unique programs in itself. And before I start my presentation, I do want to say that they're similar, but then they're not similar. So that's why you really need to pay attention to what we're presenting to you today. So it's really a privilege to be here to inform you as to how do you really connect your business to DART in doing business with us. So next slide, please. Some of the topics that I will be discussing today will give you a brief overview of our Disadvantaged Minority and Women Business Enterprise Program. Some of the summaries and highlights of that particular program, just doing business with DART in general, and upcoming opportunities, and then we'll have some time for Q&A following our presentations, I believe, Susan, during each of the presentations. Wonderful. Next slide, please. So I'll start with the DMWBE program summary and just some highlights. Our program really was developed to create a level playing field in which and I'm just going to say the acronym letters instead of saying D, B, E, all of those. I think we all on this call understand what those programs mean. But our DMWBE program, we find that there's a lot of companies that are beginning to grow in that arena. I know when I first started working for DART back in 2008, we were not as large as we are here today. And we love to see these companies being developed and moving into this space so that we can prepare you to come in and do business with each of our entities, because it's critically important that we have this program and we have companies that can come in and they're ready to compete fairly and in all facets of our contracting. I say request. It's a request for proposal. You have bids, you can bid by invitation. So there's a variety of different ways that you can come in and do business with us. You need to understand, Susan, they need to understand how to bid within those particular areas. And the best way to understand it is to really go to our website and take a look at what is the process and how are we going to engage our business in that capacity. And I would say that if you've never done business with DART, the best way to begin that process is taking a smaller contract and getting to know us, and we get to know you, and then build on it. That's not to say they shouldn't bid on the larger contracts, obviously, but we do have goal settings that we put into place for all of our contracts, no matter what they are. We always ensure that we have a DMWBE, not a DMW, but a MWBE component goals that we reach, and we have no problem reaching those goals. And our prime contractors understand the importance of the goal setting process. So we have no problem in achieving it or overreaching that goal. There's compliance, contract compliance. We have business connections. Business connections is what we particularly do in our area of outreach, where we partner with our minority organizations, such as the Asian Chamber of Texas, and really identify where are your members in your organization, and how can we really make an impact for them. I think we have to strategically look at it and identify where those members are. So it's a win-win for both the chamber and for DART. And those business connections allow us to do a one-on-one session with your members. So that is something that we really, really have been very successful in doing. Business Connections leads to another program that we have at DART called the Small Business Academy. And we hold that academy once a year. It's a day and a half sessions for those companies that have never done business with DART. And we're going now, I believe, into our 7th year of that particular program. We reached 46 participants last year. We do pay on time, and everything that we do at DART goes to our board. And I think everybody else on this call, everything goes to the board first, but we report all of the goals and achievements that we've made within those contracts. Next slide. Tell me how I'm doing on time. Am I doing okay? All right. And what is a DBE and MWBE goal? I think I just described to you a little bit about how we achieve those particular goals, but we have a director of our DMWBE program, and they identify the goals, and they're set separately within those specific contracts. So some goals may be lower, some may be split, so we identify who's ready and willing and able to bid on those contracts, and then that's how we set the goals. And achievable goals. We're not talking about, 5% goal. We're talking 10, 15, 20% goals sometimes. And the overall goal, the big picture goal, can exceed 30%. So we're really serious about our program. And we really try to, right now, what we have been doing is making those larger projects and build them into smaller projects so that we can afford other businesses to come and do business with DART. And we found that in one of our capital projects. And it's worked out very well. And we rotate the tasks as they come along within the contract. So again, affording other businesses that are not quite that large, but still can come in and almost act like a prime contractor, you might say, within those projects. And then that commitment, the commitment is there. The commitment is there from our board, from our department, and from our suppliers. If we say, here's a goal, we're committed, our prime contractors are committed to reaching those goals. So it's incorporated into the contract. What's next? Go ahead. So what's next is we have big projects. We're talking a $2 billion, over $2 billion in capital projects that are coming down the pipeline right now. I identified 4, but again, it's not always about the big projects. It's about how can I get my foot in the door with other projects? And we want you to, again, go back to the website, check our website, see what's coming up down the pipeline, and see how you best can fit within the projects that we have coming down in the next 2 to 3 years. We do have an opportunity for you to look at upcoming projects, which means the departments have already identified what they anticipate putting out as a contract, and it's not there yet. So that's a great opportunity to step in, get your foot in the door, understand the project, and maybe bring other folks together to bid on those contracts. Next slide. Doing business with DART. That's what we're here for, right? So DART is always open for business, and we do buy a variety of things. It's not always about a construction project. We have professional services. We also have goods and services. So there's a variety of ways that your business can come in and do business with us. Find where your niche is and come in and do business with us. We always seek full and open competition, and we ensure that there's fair and equitable treatment of our suppliers. I assure you that our procurement department is on the same page as we are. When we set those goals, they work with us. We work together hand in hand. It's not us versus them. It's a combination of all of our work together. That's how we all succeed. Next slide, please. So next steps. First step, register your business to do business with DART. And I had about 6 slides I was going to show you on how to become registered with DART. But what I'm going to do after this session is I'm going to send each and every one of you those slides so that you can look at it, and it gives you a screen picture of where to look for things within our system. It can be a little, you have to kind of navigate it through. So we want to make it easy and simple for you to register. So register to do business with DART. Why? Because once you're registered and an opportunity is available in your particular area, our email system, we have an online system, and it goes directly to you. If you put that code into your profile when you became a vendor with us, we automatically send you that opportunity. Hey, this is coming up. It may or may not be of interest to you if you want to take a look at it. Attend pre-bids. Of course, we can't attend them at our headquarters right now, but we are moving in the direction and have moved into the direction of virtual pre-bids. And we have seen a tremendous increase in that arena. Why? Because typically it takes a business owner 1 hour to get ready, 1 hour to come to the office, to, headquarters, and another hour to get back to your office. That's 3 hours of your day. They're vitally important to the success of your company, a fourth of your day. So now with these virtual pre-bids, we have seen numbers just increase tremendously. And we like that. We want more competition, right? So do that, attend our pre-bids, come to our board meetings. It really is open to the public when we are open. And actually you can do that online now. If you go, like today, you could have gone in, listened to those projects. So that gives you even a better heads up because you're listening to the departments and they're talking about those projects. So I encourage everybody, go to those, listen to those committee meetings, and then request a meeting from us. Sit down and talk to you one-on-one about anything. It could be, hey, I've been on a contract and didn't win, or you don't want to make the same mistake over and over. So come and talk to us. We'll help you and navigate through a successful contract. And then also there's an unsolicited proposal option on our website. That means I have a great idea for DART. We want to hear from you. So if you put that into our system, we have people in our procurement department that looks at each and every one of those and it can schedule meetings if it's something of interest to DART. So get certified. We want to know that you're certified to do business so that we can reach our goals, stay vigilant, and be vocal. Talk. Let's talk. We have people, we have to build those relationships, and we're here to serve. So I think that's maybe the end of my presentation. I'm not sure. Oh, see, that's what it looks like. So I have little arrows that navigate you to our site so that you can register your company. And if you just follow those little arrows, you'll get to where you need to get to and become a DART supplier. That's where we want you. And the next slide is about our upcoming opportunities. And like I said, these are opportunities that are not contracts yet or goods and services or things of that nature, but we list those opportunities in there so that you can see, what we have coming down the pipeline. So that's it, Susan.
So Carmen, I have a question for you. So if they have, if someone has a question as to still have questions regarding how to become a supplier or how to register, where would they go? Like, can they contact somebody from the procurement office to help them?
Well, I would have them come to our department first, not contact procurement. I think there is a slide at the end of this presentation that lists all of our contact.
Okay, very good.
Yes, at the end, because you want to contact our department. We want to, this is a relationship between your chamber and DART. So I would encourage them to call us first. And then if we can't help them, we can guide them into other areas that might be a little bit more assistance to them.
Gotcha. Very good.
Would anybody else have any questions?
Don't see anything that's come through.
Okay.
So thank you, Carmen. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So now next up is Guy. Guy, jump right in, please.
Thank you, Susan. What we'll do is, first of all, I want to say thank you for this opportunity for the chamber, allowing us to speak. At Parkland, I think for this series here, Carmen spoke on a broader approach. So I'm going to bring it down a little bit more narrow, and then I think Ron's going to clean up with even more on in regard to developing the strategy on your approach. I think what we want to do is really focus on your business development. You don't have to be certified to do business with Parkland or any entity, but it's good to, it's a good avenue to have that certification because it opens doors, especially when you are just starting out. But even when you're a seasoned vet, sometimes that bring you through the door with new opportunities, with new partners, and you can build your business then and your capacity to grow. Our office at Inclusion and Supply Diversity will assist you in a professional business manner. And will help you navigate without wasting time, because we believe that if we can direct you directly to the right resources to save you time, save you money, and maybe give you an opportunity for business. There's so many different avenues and opportunities, from staffing, construction, being a supplier, transportation, landscaping, cabling, you name it, it's pretty much there. So what we want to do is talk about the RFP process here. So let's go to the next slide. We're growing, and that's why I put that picture there. We're constantly developing and seeing how we can better serve the community. That's the breast care center that should be open early next year, bringing everybody to one location instead of different locations around the county. But Parkland is growing constantly and trying to better serve our community. Next slide, please. The main resource and source of information will be on our website, and I listed it right there at parklandhospital.com. And behind the A prompt just tells you how to navigate. When you pull up the website, you'll see a vendor tab at the top, and it will take you to the supplier portal, and you click events, and then you can browse the open events. Right now, it is not business as usual. It is, we had to figure out how to keep things going during this COVID epidemic. So what we decided to do was to make sure that we get essential contracts continued, and also those that came up, contracts that were going to end within 6 months, we automatically extended them 1 year. So some people that may have had a 5-year contract were actually granted a 6-year contract on an emergency basis. The focus points, once you get the RFP, for me, is to look at the statement of work and make sure that it has all the elements that fit your business approach and how you do business. And then recognize who the contact person is, any pre-bid notice information, notice the question answer period, because you may have a week to ask questions after you review it. You may have 2 weeks, sometimes longer, but you want to be cognizant of that particular point to know when you can ask questions after you review the solicitation. Always look at the evaluation criteria, MWBE requirements, due dates, and the additional documentation that may be added as the proposal is going as it's in process. And we always publicize 2 weeks in advance in the daily commercial record. Next slide, please. Most critical things that I wanted to bring to your attention as a vendor is to register on our vendor portal. It's very important. It's critical, actually, because that's how you submit your bid. So if you're not registered now and you see a bid that comes up, you have to register within that term and respond to the bid. So the best thing, if you're interested in doing business with Parkland, reach out to the Department of Inclusion and Supply Diversity, and let's start on that initiative now of getting you registered if you're not already registered. Other critical elements are to look for certain requirements. Under 2A here, that technical requirement for a structural engineer was actually for a warehouse moving supplies from one warehouse and putting them in another. Most people think it's just moving services, but it required a structural engineer because of the weight of the material, and for safety reasons, you had to actually hire a structural engineer to make sure that when you set the structures back up for the supplies, that they were sound and safe. So those look for licenses, the timing of things that are due, whether that's a written response or some of the requirements, documents. Also notice that detail in MWBE, we do not accept hubs in regard to our MWBE program. We have a sole MWBE program. So know that you have to have an MWBE certificate if you want to count towards the program. So also in regard to MWBE, if you're a prime or a sub, know the teaming preference. Some people prefer joint ventures. Some people prefer just the prime sub. It just depends, but know what they want. And if they don't tell you, ask them. Let's go to the next page. And finally, just the evaluation itself. Normally, it's 2 phases. We have the initial phase where we receive the proposals and a panel reviews each proposal, and they review it independently and then come together and bring the scores together. And you'll have a technical side, a management side, and a compliance side. And normally the second phase is a short list. If you have 10 or 12 bids, we might reduce it to 1 or 2 and then make the selection. So I just wanted to pinpoint some of the unique elements of Parkland's Supplier Diversity Program in conjunction with the supply chain process. And that's all I have at this time, and open for all questions. Oh, wait, I forgot. I wanted to put this in here. These are small businesses, and that was just at a glance some of the businesses that you may or may not be familiar with. Some may be members of your organization, but I just wanted to show the different industry and trade, and people at your leisure. You can see some are construction, some are cabling, some are consulting services, office supplies. So it's a variety of things, and you take the approach of what a municipality would need. Pretty much Parkland's in that same genre where you need different trades, different professional services. Now I'm done.
Sorry. Okay, sorry about that. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to save some of the questions because I have some general questions for all of you towards the end. So I'm going to go ahead and let Ron move into his presentation, and then we can start opening it up for other questions and my questions as well.
Okay.
Ron, go ahead. We're ready for you.
All right. Thank you very much, Susan. I appreciate ACT and frankly the panel for giving me the opportunity to participate. Next slide. I want to talk to the group about an approach, a mindset, if you will, when it comes to reviewing a request for proposals. I know that Guy had talked a little bit about some ideas, and I want to kind of add on to that, give you some ideas of what I've learned in contract administration. I've been in contract administration for nearly 30 years. And so I started when I was 2. No, I'm just kidding. I've been in it for about 30 years, and these are some observations and being on committees and having oversight on some committees. And I hope you'll find this information helpful. One of the things I really like about an RFP, and especially for companies, is it's not just a bland request for bid that gives you all these technical specs and tells you this is what you got to do, this is how you got to do it, and we want you to present this result. This is really the opportunity for you as a company to present your solutions, your ideas, your expertise. It really means request to solve problems. And it's a request for specialized capabilities to do that. So for us as an airport, the RFP opportunity is really for us to find out what's out there in the industry and how is the industry addressing solving specific problems that we as an airport And frankly, for other governmental entities, they don't have the capabilities within their own organization to do on their own. So we're reaching out to you to help solve our problems. What I would say is when you get an RFP opportunity, you see, okay, it's due in 4 weeks, it's due in 6 weeks, don't procrastinate. I think Guy made a very good point in start to look at the scope of work. Review that scope of work and have an honest assessment about your company's capabilities. And if that scope of work really matches what your company does, then this is a great opportunity. We're excited about having the opportunity for you to participate. But you need to make a decision whether you can propose or not. And if you do decide to propose, have that honest assessment about your company and if you're able to meet all of the requirements that are being asked for in an RFP. And if you have some areas where you may be able to do okay, but not do an optimum job, this is a fantastic opportunity for you to consider subcontracting to address those deficiencies and enhance performance to the scope of work. This is where you can engage MWBE firms to be your partner in the solution. So again, I would just say, you can make a strength and opportunities assessment to say, here's my list of strengths and capabilities, and here's my opportunities where
Ron,
I see in the scope of work that I need to reach out and get assistance. And that is your subcontracting opportunity. Make sure that when you're all, I'm sorry, Susan, I didn't hear you.
You were just stuck there for a second.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's
No,
okay.
no, I just want to make sure people understand that when you look at a scope of work and you're assessing it and you find that there's a deficiency, you may have a lot of capabilities and to do the work, but don't be discouraged, because if you see that there are areas that you don't do, this is a signal to your company to go out and reach out to other companies as subcontracting opportunities. This is where you can engage MWBE firms. This is where you can do joint ventures. These are the opportunities for partnership to help address the RFP and the needs that are identified by that client. So don't just look introspectively and say, I have to do the whole thing. Look at the opportunity to bring in another company or two that will help strengthen your proposal. And then if you get the contract, strengthen your performance in delivering whatever service is being requested. Another thing, correlate each scope of work, task, deliverable, and objective to the tab section response. This has to do more with the technical organization of your RFP. You've identified your company is capable of doing it. You've identified sub-consultants and contractors that could assist you in doing being successful. Each RFP typically has tab sections that you have to respond to, and it's important that you organize your proposal well and respond to what is being asked for in each tab section. Keep in mind, you've got your competitors that are also submitting proposals. You've got evaluation committee members reading multiple proposals. The better you're organized, the better and clearer your story is going to be told. And that's what we need. We need to understand how you're going to solve a problem, and having good organizational skills also provides a good impression to the evaluation team. It's also important to tell who you're going to be engaged with. Who are the parties that are going to be partnering with you? Tell them and identify what specific areas are they going to be working in. When are you going to be able to perform the services? Sometimes a when is important, sometimes it's not. But sometimes there's critical deadlines that need to be met. You need to tell them how you're going to meet that when requirement. And where. We're going to tell you some of the work may be done on site, some of the work may be done at your business. Let us know where you're going to have your work done. But probably one of the most critical parts about it is people are very good about telling us technically how they're going to do the job, but they don't tell us enough about why it's going to work. And that's what we need to understand. Give us relevant examples of why it will work in an environment. May that be for DART, may it be for Parkland Hospital, may it be for an airport. Regardless, we want to know why it works. Remember, you're a problem solver. You're not just a proposer. Tell us how your company is going to create the solutions that will work in our environment. Next slide, please. Again, as I mentioned in the opening, an RFP is an opportunity for you to give us creative solutions. So, use your innovative techniques, tools, and technologies, and tell us why you selected it. Tell us why it's going to solve our problem. Tell us why does it work for our application. Are there any cost savings that you can pass on to the airport? And how can we apply those? The thing is, we want to be, once you've become a contractor with the airport or frankly with any of your other clients, it's an opportunity for partnership. And we want you to be innovative. We want you to be creative. We want you to be able to solve the problem. So work with us in partnership once you get that contract. And it's also important to respond what is being asked for. And what I've seen in the past is sometimes companies will have these templates that they use, and they copy parts of a previous proposal, and that's okay. I mean, I use templates at work for contracts and for requests for proposals, but I also have to make sure that every one of those RFPs, while I start with a template, I need to put in the unique information, the unique scope of work, the unique MWBE goal. I need to provide that unique information. And so while companies have templates, that's a starting point. It's not the end point. If your template does not address what the scope of work that we're providing you needs, then your template is of no value. So make sure that you're making the appropriate adjustments and submitting a proposal, and that you are identifying what you're going to do, what your subcontractors or consultants are going to be doing to enhance your proposal response and provide a better service to your customer. Next slide. Now to the little bit drier part of the presentation with regards to request for proposal process. But I want you to understand that an RFP process is really a legal process. We have to follow state statutes, specifically Local Government Code 252, Government Code 2254, and 2269, depending on the type of procurement that it is. All our solicitations are advertised. At DFW Airport, we advertise through the Dallas Morning News and the Fort Worth Star Telegram. And then when we release our documents, you have a kind of a general idea of what the construct is of our request for proposal. We'll have instructions and requirements so that you understand how you're supposed to respond. We'll be very transparent about our evaluation criteria and what weight we're going to give each criteria. We're going to give you the specifications and scope of work. And then we're going to give you our contract special provisions and general provisions so that you understand what you will be contracting under. So all of those things are going to be making up part of the contract and the RFP process. And again, I think as Guy pointed out, and it's a recommendation I would make as well, start with the specifications and scope of work. Read that first, make sure you have capabilities. And if you do, but you need some assistance, that's your subcontracting opportunity. Next slide, please. Typically, when we do an evaluation criteria, again, part of the statute is we have to tell you what those criteria are in general and the relative importance of each of those criteria. And this is not representing every RFP, but these are some of the most common general categories that you're going to see in evaluation of an RFP. It's going to be technical compliance, technical and compliance requirements of the scope of work. Management, that means the project management, the personnel that you're going to have engaged to make sure that the work is being done appropriately. Your implementation plan, how you plan on addressing our problem, how you're going to solve our problem, how you're going to implement it. In some cases, we have ongoing maintenance and support. So maybe you're installing an IT system, or maybe you're installing some other system that's going to require ongoing maintenance and support. Well, we want to know how you're going to do that kind of work and even if you're going to be engaging outside firms to help you do that work. And then we have our diversity and inclusion initiatives. And you'll notice I put 20 points there. That 20 points is there to let you know that out of a 100-point scale, the airport is always going to apply 20 points towards diversity and inclusion. That means meeting your MWBE goals. That also means your historical use of MWBE and other diversity firms as a business practice. It's your affirmative action programs, other elements of those things that you can communicate to us and have a better understanding of how your company adapts to diversity and inclusion as part of their standard practice. And then, of course, there is price. Now, price is typically not going to be the most important aspect of it. Typically, price is going to be around 20 points, give or take 5. But obviously, the bulk of the points are going to be towards the technical and diversity side of the evaluation. Next slide. So before you submit your proposal, some best practices are really to follow all the proposal instructions. Ensure all the forms are completed correctly and signed where required. Ensure all the required documentation is submitted. Double check all figures for pricing to make sure that it's a price that you can live with. Avoid taking any exceptions to the scope of work or contract terms. And propose a change prior to the RFP question deadline. In some cases, this is a good point that I'd like to stop at. You may have some areas where you feel like you would like to request a change in our scope of work or some other element of the RFP. You need to communicate that prior to the deadline for questions. We can take your suggestion and we could issue an addendum and make the change, but we can't do that if you don't let us know. So communication during the RFP process is important. And so, but make sure that you meet that deadline and get your question in or your suggestion prior to the deadline. And I can't emphasize enough to proofread and proofread and proofread. I would suggest having at least one other pair of eyes review your proposal. You may think that you've written something terrific. Well, if it is that terrific, then let somebody else look at it and see, do they have that same impression? And be willing to take some constructive criticism, or if you did a very good job, give yourself a pat on the back for doing a good job in writing up a proposal. But I do suggest people have another pair of objective eyes look at it before you submit it, so that you make sure you haven't missed anything. Next slide. Now, the approach for a proposal development, I've gone over a little bit of this earlier, so I'm going to quickly go through this. Scope of work, again, you're going to see in the box on the right some examples of some tab sections that are typically used. Again, it's important that the correct information be put in the correct tabbed area. This shows that you have good organizational skills. It also assists those people who are evaluating on the evaluation team who are evaluating your proposal to quickly ascertain where the information is that is needed. If you have it in the wrong area, frankly, you're going to give the wrong impression. So make sure and have your response well organized. And frankly, a lot of these tab sections will have page number limits. So it's important that you follow those page number limits and be able to concisely and effectively communicate how your company will solve the problem. Be specific to the scope of work. Make sure that you understand how the scope of work correlates to each tabbed section, how your scope of work tabs to the management side, so that you're responding to how you would manage the scope of work. Provide your company's solution and include the who, what, when, where, and why it will work to meet, in this case, the airport's requirements, but frankly, that's true for any client. And then consider doing a summary sheet for your RFP that identifies each scope of work, provides a page of proposal numbers, where the solution can be found. The easier you make it for the evaluation team to find the information, the better it is for them, better impression you make on them. And frankly, it makes sure that they're going to be able to find your answer to solve their problem. Next slide, please. I want to go over a little bit about our diversity and programs, utilization or inclusion of minority women-owned business enterprises in airport contracts is a valuable consideration in awarding airport contracts. As I mentioned before, fully 1/5 of all points goes to diversity and inclusion. So frankly, if a company does not address that, I'll tell you in my nearly 25 years at the airport, I worked 5 years prior with Collin County, but I've never seen a proposal that did not meet the MWBE requirements, diversity inclusion requirements, get far, certainly not to the finalist section of any evaluation team's scoring. So if you're going to become a finalist, you're going to have to address business diversity. Understand the applicable diversity program that's been identified. Sometimes there's a small business enterprise, there's a minority, there's or women-owned business enterprise, or a combination. So make sure you understand which program and make sure that you're meeting or exceeding the applicable program. Respond to the evaluation criteria and submit all the required forms in your RFP. Our Business Diversity Development Department has certain set forms that they use. And so they're expecting you to submit those forms to complete them. If there's a form in there, it's in there for a purpose. So make sure and complete it and give us the information that is being requested. Next slide, please. Now, if you've gone through an RFP process, you've been evaluated, and let's say that you are not awarded a contract. That's not just, you don't have to end the relationship with the airport.
Ron, you there? Looks like we lost Ron for a moment.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay. Well, I just want to talk about debriefings. And I think most organizations do debriefings, or they offer debriefings for firms that were not awarded contracts. I present this to you simply because it's a great learning tool. It's an opportunity for you to get feedback for your future proposals. We will be able to give you an analysis from the evaluation team's perspective and with their comments about what were the strengths of your proposals as well as the opportunities for improvement. The contract, all you have to do is once the decision is made and the contract is executed, the airport will be open to having a debriefing with your company to discuss your proposal. Now, we don't do comparative analysis. We don't compare it to other proposals because we want to keep other proposals confidential, like we'll keep yours confidential. But we want to give you an opportunity to get an assessment of how your proposal performed in response to our RFP. And I'll tell you, I'm scheduled tomorrow to do a debriefing for a company that was not successful in submitting their proposal. And frankly, it's a great opportunity for me to discuss the things that they need to work on, but frankly, even the things that they don't need to work on, things that they were very successful at, and they don't need to bring as much time and attention to as much as other areas that are opportunities for improvement. Next slide. Okay. I'm going to go quickly over vendor registration and solicitation schedule. Next slide. You can register as a vendor online. And again, I believe that this act is going to make this presentation available to all participants. And so there's our website and a link to our website in order to register as a vendor. I've been told it takes about 15 to 20 minutes. And it's important, as Guy mentioned earlier, Carmen mentioned earlier, it's important for you to register as a vendor. That allows us to get your information and to proactively notify you of any RFP or RFB or other type of solicitation opportunities that are available. Next slide. Again, there's information about how to do business with the airport. Let's go to the next slide.
Sorry, give me a second.
Okay.
I think that's the next slide.
All right, fantastic. Again, this is the solicitation schedule. You can go to our website. You can see current postings at any time by going to this web link. You can see what we've got on the street right now. Typically, these are the ones that we've advertised in the local newspapers. So take a look at those opportunities. We've got some RFPs on the street right now that you could take a look at. So, but a wide variety of any solicitation that we've advertised is going to be posted in our solicitation schedule webpage. Next slide. All right. That's my presentation. I look forward to hearing your questions at the end of the session.
Well, I have one quick one. You've answered quite a few. I was writing a couple of them down, and I realized that you're answering them as I'm going. But I do have one for a very quick one, if you guys can answer it, so we can move on to BB&T here for a minute. But so, what are some of the more common mistakes that vendors will do in this RFP process if not winning the bid?
This is my opinion. The thing that I've seen is that the companies rely too much on canned presentations. In some cases, like I said, it's a tool. It's a tool you should use because there are some standardized answers for some areas. But remember, an RFP is an opportunity. It's a request to solve a problem. And so we're looking for your creative solutions. We're looking for you to look at our scope of work and see how well your company matches up to providing those solutions. And I think sometimes we just get so locked into doing templates that we're not looking at some of the unique scope of work information. And frankly, one of the things the airport does is we always give you kind of a background information to tell you, here's the situation that we're in. This is our current standing. This is where we want to go. You as a company, tell us how we get there. And if you are looking at a request for proposal and they're not giving you background information about where they're at now and where they want to go, you need to ask that as a question. Because again, RFP is an opportunity for you to give us unique solutions that we may not have ever know. We don't even know exist because you're the industry experts. That's my perspective.
Very good.
Susan, quickly,
Sure.
for me, it's the first thing that came to my mind was not being responsive, whether you didn't answer a question properly or you missed a section. I can look at a bid, and if it comes in and if it's too low, I go, uh-oh. They missed something. And what we understand that everybody is in a for-profit business, and we want them to profit, so we want to give them value as well for the benefit that we receive. So we want to make sure it's fair, and usually when we see something like that, we send it back and say, you might want to review your bid because we think you missed something or we identified for it.
Very good. Carmen, anything to add?
If there's a current contract out there, here's just a tidbit of information. That contract is public information. You can go to DART, ask for a legal form to submit. You want to see the current contract. That at least puts you in the ballpark of where you need to be. And I found a lot of companies had a better understanding because they were way off, point in terms of the bidding process. So kind of gives you, it's not the answer, not the solution, but it gives you the current status of where that contract is today and what, it tells you everything about that contract.
Right. Gotcha. Very good. And thank you all for that very informative and pretty detailed, if I may say, presentation. You guys did a fantastic job, and we will be sending out your deck to all of our participants today. But I want to go ahead and introduce our next guest. We only have a few minutes left, but I think I'd like to introduce Miss Nancy St. Joseph from our partners at BB&T. She's going to talk about some of the products and services that are available for small businesses. So please, Nancy, go right ahead.
Thank you, Susan, and thank you, everyone. I've enjoyed hearing what I've heard because as a business consultant, the work that I do, I assist small business owners in determining what's best for them, what types of solutions, and where can I point them in which direction so that they can grow their businesses. So I know that we're short for time, and I'd spoken already to Divya and to Susan to say that I kept it short and sweet because all banks primarily offer the exact same things, solutions for small businesses. So where I can differentiate is to show the focused approach that we take. So we do something that we call a consultative approach, and it really is. So people are very surprised when they sit down with me and I do something that's called a financial insight. And it breaks down the industry for that client after they've told me what they do. I tell them everything about that business that we've had a third party do the research for us, and they get to take that home. It does provide a lot of insight into helping them determine where is my business now in comparison to my peers, and where should I focus my attention right now to get to where I need to be profitable. You'll go back one slide for me. Go back one. Yes. So just to show you who we are as BB&T, we are now called BB&T, now Truist. The name will not change for another 18 months or so legally, but we do have 53 locations here in the Metroplex, and we are primarily on the East Coast. So we have several branches there. We have 1,800 locations in 15 states and Washington, D.C. And they decided to come and move here to Texas, and we bought Citibank in the state of Texas in 2014. And that was because they weren't already here. They saw that this is the place to be. So it was a great idea. It was a very good plan for the bank. And we've been very helpful here in this area to help small businesses, because that is how our bank started in 1872, is helping small business owners after Reconstruction to help them start again. So that's my focus. As a community business development officer, I primarily work with all businesses that are of the diversity type of segmentation. So if it's WMBE and veterans. So we are stable and financially sound, and I have some a collateral just to show that to you so that you can read that at your leisure at the end. And again, we came here in 2014, and it was because Citi didn't find that Texas was the footprint for them. And we said, okay, great. We would love to buy those branches and those clients and help them further their agenda, because small business is the backbone of America. So if we could go to the next slide. And as I talked about that consultative approach, I don't know how to help a small business owner. Just like when you go to the dentist, the doctor, or an attorney, they don't know how to help you until they know your story. So I ask a lot of questions, and we do that. And during that conversation, I dig deeper, and I find out some ways that I can provide solutions and opportunities, which aren't always necessarily within BB&T though. Sometimes I need to have them start back to stage one, and that may be to go to SCORE or the SBDC or the SBA, or to partner with someone as a mentor, and I'm their banking mentor. So we work together to help them achieve their goals. And that starts with business payment solutions. We help them manage that cash flow through a variety of means, checking and savings. We have merchant that we own in-house. We own our own merchant services company. We help them with their debits, bill payment, small business online, treasury, and payroll services. We also help them with their insurance to protect what's important to them, because a lot of folks feel that I'm a small business owner, I don't need insurance. Yes, you do, especially to do some of the things with DART, Parkland, and DFW. You must be insured. You have to be bonded. You will not get anywhere with you guys if you're not. So I go through that with them to show them the importance. And we are the 5th largest insurance provider in the country. So we carry all lines of insurance. We have specialists who help them with that, in addition to key person insurance. And I also help them grow the business by giving them opportunity to finance their major purchases so that they are ready to do business with DART, Parkland, and DFW Airport. And I'll have to stop here to say, in the beginning, when I'm helping folks get started during that consultative advice approach, I typically have to educate. Most of what I do is a lot of education. I partner with a lot of other organizations that support nonprofits and support small businesses to educate folks into understanding credit is how you grow your business. When people come to me and say, oh, credit is my enemy, I don't want credit, I can't do credit, I built my business on cash, I feel bad for them, because Now you don't show that you have any cash in your bank account. So I help them rebuild where they haven't built before. And that could be 10 years in the business, but now they have a nice contract with Parkland, but they don't have the capacity to achieve what they have won a contract for because they don't have the credit. So I start them out in growing their levels of credit with loans, lines of credit, and credit cards. Wherever their credit capacity, whatever they can achieve from that point, that's where I help them. And most folks will want to, they hire folks, but how do you keep them? You need to offer them something that will keep them there. I love BB&T as my employer because they took great care of us through the COVID crisis. They took care of employees within the branch. I've seen employers out there, even though they were closed, they were not receiving any revenue, they still continued to pay their employees. One of the things that we have offered is education for their employees so that they're well equipped. The last thing you want is for someone to be on the job, he's a sub for a prime, and he can't really he can't complete it because his employee's car or truck broke down and he can't get there. We want to educate them to be prepared financially before those crises happen. So instead of waiting for something bad to occur, we educate them on financial wellness and having those things in place, savings account, credit cards, managing money. More than anything, we teach them money management skills. Because from what parents do, kids learn. And that's a perpetual cycle. And the other part that is important to us is taking care of those business owners, helping them with their personal financial needs. A lot of times, small business owners will say, when the question is asked of them, how have you planned for your retirement? They'll say, oh, I'm going to sell my business. What if no one wants to purchase your business? What do? Where is your retirement plan? So we help them with structuring for their future, helping them to grow the wealth that they have already started. And if they haven't started, we help them manage to that point. We also help them with getting the best rates for mortgage and personal loans, getting the best checking account that we have to offer. It's the same one that we get as employees, and helping them with their insurance needs personally and helping their family members. So that, in a nutshell, is all about product and how it works. But I won't know any of that until I have that conversation. And I always tell folks, I said, are you ready? Because I'm pretty inquisitive. You're going to feel like you just walked away from your grandma who asked you so many questions you're uncomfortable. So get ready, because that's the way I do it. I've been in banking 28 years, and I've learned if you don't become a partner to a small business owner, and I've been doing this same job for 28 years, you're not helping them. You need to get in it with them as a partner. Next slide, please. And this is just a page that talks about the safety and soundness of Truist as a corporation and how we have separated ourselves from the other financial institutions. As putting everything else aside, I would like for you to read this at your leisure. We are truly purpose-driven and prepared. Our CEO has a conversation with the entire bank every Friday, and that speaks volumes to me and to many employees, and that's because he wants his voice to be heard. He said, we are a purpose-driven bank. Don't ever forget why we're here, because the day that we forget why we're here, we're out of business and we don't serve the purpose for which we were created. So with that, thank you very much for the opportunity, and I appreciate the time.
Thank
Any
you,
questions?
Nancy.
Thank
Well,
you.
we kind of ran out of questions. We kind of ran out of time right now, so we need to close. But I appreciate each one of you. And Nancy, you're absolutely right. It's about a relationship. I just, you don't know what you know until you start asking those questions. And I know, each one of you are so personable. And I guess I'm coming from a perspective of looking at it from a small business owner's perspective of, you guys have brought it down to our level in terms of being approachable, and you're not intimidating. Each one of you provided very beneficial information, so we can actually come to you and ask questions, ask the right questions, and have our hand held through this whole process, because it's intimidating and it's overwhelming. And knowing that you know the business better than we can until we can actually start getting up to speed and catching up to get where we want to get to. We don't know what we don't know. So Thank you for your insight, all three of you. We appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and say just a couple words of closing. I appreciate all of the attendees today. Thank you all for joining us today. I want to also invite you for our next event. Next week, we're going to continue the conversation we had past week on the webinar will be specifically on racial equity in businesses. So we're going to focus on that, and it's a continuation of our conversation from last week regarding the xenophobia and but more in respect to the businesses and how it's been impacting our North Texas and the small businesses here in lieu of everything that's been going on. So I hope that you will join us and sign up for that. We will give you just a brief email with some information about that, along with the deck that you saw today and all the information that's been provided. But thank you all for joining us. And on that, I'm going to say good afternoon. I guess it's evening now. It's 5 o'clock. So cheers, and we'll see you next time. Take care, everyone.
He says.
Bye-bye.